Merry Christmas, everyone. Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by a panel of guests this morning. Wishing you all a Merry Christmas. CJ Vogels, Jerry Hamilton, Rod Babers, and Jeff Howe. This episode of On Texas Football, special episode brought to you by our friends at Vaughn Lane. We'll tell you about a little bit more about them a little later. This is a part one of a two-part series. I'm going to ask the panelists here one question for each of these, and then we're going to go around and have a little roundtable discussion. The first video this morning is going to be your favorite play in 2025. I want fans to think back to this as well. Your singular favorite play. All right. I'm going to go with you, CJ, and let you get us started here. What was your favorite play in 2025?
Yeah, I'll call it the cowbell silencer is what it was for me. It was Ryan Nibblet tying the game in Starkville, the punt return that basically helped make a impossible, improbable, whatever you want to call it, comeback possible for the Longhorns in overtime. I've been to a lot of these games over the last 5 years, right? Since I started covering Texas, my jaws never hit the floor harder than one, oh my God, they kicked the ball to him, and two, oh my God, he did it again. And the fact that Texas ultimately came back from 17 down, look, I'm getting goosebumps again thinking about it. The fact that they came back from 17 down with 9.5 to go, in large part because of that punt return, it was far and away my favorite play of the year. Credit to Ryan Nibblet because he was fantastic.
Yeah, and that kick return unit or punt return unit as a whole really grew up. Nibblet was a factor in several games. It really, I have to say this to your point about making goosebumps go on your arms. I literally could not believe what I was watching when it occurred. What did you think, Jeff, on that?
It's weird because like you could have Ryan Nibblet on, like all of us could take a Ryan Nibblet punt return.
Yep, exactly.
Even like, and this is why I had a problem with the all SEC teams. Like, you look at the OU game and the Mississippi State game. Texas doesn't win the Kentucky game if not for a Ryan Nibblet punt return. And I know the Georgia game went the way it did, but part of the reason why Kirby kicked the onside kick was he didn't want to kick it to Ryan Nibblet. So, I mean, that's if you're talking about team MVPs. I mean, I'm not saying he is it, but you got to at least have him in the conversation.
Yeah,
Jeff, I was going to say, Jeff, in the Watch With Us chats at that point, Ryan Nibblet was the team MVP of the season. I'm not sure that was good, bad, or ugly at that point of the year. It was great for Ryan Nibblet, but what I loved about Ryan Nibblet this year, in the day and age of the transfer portal, 99% of kids would have left.
100%.
Great point. No, he's the best story, guys, of the season. Like, I'm sorry, Arch is a great story. There's no better story than Ryan Nibblet. He's the ultimate underdog, to Jerry's point. He literally saved games for you. And on top of that, did it multiple times and did it in the most, for the opponent, the most heartbreaking, heart-wrenching fashion. So I think he's not only had game-saving plays, I think he's the best story of the season. Yeah. It's not even close, actually.
I agree.
I love it because when you go into a season, and our next video is going to be about what we're looking forward to in 2026 later today. But when you're going into a season, you're always thinking who's going to be that guy that steps up. And we all had, I don't know, Trey Weiser, Ryan Wingo, Colin Simmons, Anthony. I mean, we were saying all these names. I'd love to know if any of us said Ryan Nibblet, and I think we said, oh, maybe he's a good returner. We were debating whether or not he would even return punts. At the start of the year. Don't forget that. I mean, he had to win that job. All right, Rod, your favorite play from 2025?
Actually, easy. Comes from the same game, actually. But in overtime, it's tied up 38 all. Was it 2nd and 8, I believe, after Arch goes down. And Matthew Caldwell has to come in the game. And I'm kind of freaking out. I'm going, oh, man, Texas got to have. Texas loses game Mississippi State. You're talking about embarrassing disappointment. Season pretty much over in a lot of folks' minds. And Matthew Caldwell comes in, and with ice water in his veins, I think it was second play for him, by the way. I think it was a second play for him. So 2nd and 8, and he checks to a fade route in the end zone, checks it with Emmett Mosley, and then probably the best catch of the season for any Texas receiver and a beautiful pass. If his guy couldn't get it, nobody would get it. But just a beautiful catch, even a better catch by Emmett Mosley. To me, that was the high point of the season because, one, again, unexpected heroes stepping up for you and guys coming in, not only doing their job, but I think doing an exceptional, extraordinary job in a critical moment that I think, just like Ryan Nibblet, now he did it multiple times, but that saved your season. Like, I don't know where we'd be right now if Texas had lost that game to Mississippi State, and if not for Matthew Caldwell, you lose that game. And Emmett Mosley, of course.
Absolutely saved the season because let's remember how that day started, right? It was the Diana Rossini report. And you go down 17 in the fourth quarter, obviously the Nibblet return, and then, Rod, to your point, the big touchdown from Caldwell to Mosley, you then end with probably the highest that your locker room was outside of the finale against A&M at home or the win over Oklahoma. Save the season for sure for that part of the year. That was a fantastic moment. Those last 30 minutes in Starkville, you write movies about those things.
Hey, Texas was 5, and to your point, CJ and Rod, Texas was 5-2 at that point. They come home after being on the road because they came home the next weekend, right? They come home and being 5-3 versus 6-2 and still have a chance the rest of the season with 4 games left. Big difference in mentality. And I will say this too: that game, if I remember my feelings about it, I felt like they didn't really play well enough to deserve to win it. Kentucky when they needed to, fourth down stop and overtime and all. I'm not taking it away. I mean, they deserve to win, but I think you guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mississippi State, when the chips were down, they made the plays on offense and defense and special teams. And it kind of led you to be, okay, now they're 6-2 coming home. And it almost felt like, okay, this may be the game where they're actually turning the corner, or a half of football where they're actually turning the corner. And to Rod's point, the catch itself, the catch itself, I watched it on replay. And I'm like, oh, he was out. And then you really look at the replay and you're like, wow, he may have had control right there. And it may be the best individual play or effort of the season.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
The only catch I would consider putting ahead of it, and it's a game. Look, none of us want to remember the Florida game for a lot of reasons, but the ball Parker Livingston caught where he took the shot on the knee, because number one, I still don't know how the hell he held onto the ball.
Yeah.
Number two, I still don't know how the heck he didn't end up with some kind of severe knee injury from that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Remember that.
Yeah. And look, I'll put the Matthew Caldwell into a basketball analogy. Point guard, your starting point guard gets hurt. And he's fouled going to the basket, and it's an intentional foul, and the game's tied. So there's nobody on the line with you. You're standing there alone, and you got to make free throws to win it. That was a high-pressure situation Matthew Caldwell came into.
It was.
High-pressure situation. You can only replicate that in analogies of other sports. I mean, that's really where you're at. As your starting point guard goes down, he's fouled. An intentional foul, they clear the lane, game's tied, here's 2 free throws, go win the game. Very few instances that you can actually draw up that are similar to that in sports.
None of them he checked the play, though. Like, think about the scones it takes. Your backup quarterback, coach called a play in clutch moment, in critical time. Like you said, high pressure situation, and you decide, nah, I got this. Actually, checking this play. Like, to me, it takes a lot of testicular fortitude, but also a guy who's confident that I know the system. I know. Even if if it's a bad throw or if it's a drop by the receiver, coach will have confidence in me because I made the right call when I saw what the defense actually presented me. So that, to me, it was just overall, I just think it was such a magnificent play, turned down to the execution, but also the pre-snap kind of confidence of Matthew Caldwell to go, no, I'm the dude. I'm that guy. I'm the guy. I know y'all talking about Arch, but I'm gonna win this game. Like, I love those moments because nobody believed in Matthew Caldwell more than his mama and him in that moment. That's about it. That's it.
Hey, I want to say this too, just as we're thinking about this. 2 of the plays that we're going to discuss here came against Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Just like Ryan Nibblet was a surprise for everybody, right, this season. How is the Mississippi State game the one that people circled a little bit? You would have never guessed that.
Yeah.
Heading into 2025. Jerry, your favorite play? 2025.
Arch Manning's 35-yard touchdown run to ice the A&M Texas game. And I know there were 7 minutes left, but A&M had just scored. It was 20-17. And Texas had to come back because A&M started grabbing momentum in that game. You said, this feels like Vanderbilt. What's going to happen here? When they started gaining that momentum in that drive and for Arch to score in Austin, that crowd, the way that crowd reacted at that point in the game was a massive play and my favorite play of the season because it came against A&M, who was 11-0. And then they, right before that drive, they started believing they could win that football game. And then that belief went after that, essentially.
Yeah, I will say this. That was my favorite parent reaction of the year, the Cooper Manning, the fist bump, right? Anybody else have thoughts on that play?
Yeah, two things. One, probably the best, game atmosphere at DKR I've ever seen. Obviously getting A&M at night, fantastic for the revival of that rivalry at home. Additionally, you mentioned, the fourth quarter, it felt like Texas was in one of those ruts again. You go back to Vanderbilt, you go back to Arkansas. The two previous times Texas had leads at home were in the two previous games that Texas had at home, and they slipped away, but were held on. This one, it felt like Texas said, no, we're not letting y'all come back any closer than this, slamming the door the way that they did with Arch doing it the way that he did. That was fun. That certainly was a fun one.
Didn't Arch have a big design run to close out the Oklahoma game too?
He did the slide.
Yeah. And he kind of waved to the fans. Yeah, I like that. That's a pretty good one.
Maybe that's a signature thing versus the rivals, man. We're gonna let Arch close y'all out.
I think Jerry picking that play, though, I think it drives home the point. If you look at, what's the identity? If you ask yourself, what was the identity of the Texas offense in 2025? For the most part, it was, snap the ball to 16 and hope he can go make a play. I mean, that really was your identity. And there was a lot of times in crunch time where he went and made a play.
Yep.
I've got a question for you. You mentioned that play against OU where Sark called that. Was this the best play call in a big-time situation for Sark all year?
Ooh.
I got one.
Oh, yeah. A&M, he was in. I like the Nick Townsend one. That Nick Townsend.
I like the Nick Townsend one. That was my favorite.
Okay. That's fair. Same game. Yeah.
Yeah, so that game he was feeling, to your point. I think he was starting to feel he got in his groove late in that game.
Figured out how to run the ball with Trey Weiser in that game, too.
I will say that Arch run was a 3rd and 3 from the 35. You probably weren't feeling good about kicking a field goal if you got stoned. 52-yarder.
Yeah. Now you're right.
Probably set up a 4th down play, to your point, with all the marbles. But thankfully that happened. Hey, look, I've got to ask this for you guys. Y'all mentioned all of this. Jeff, yours is a little bit different, I think, than the other guys. Special teams and offense. Yours going to be on defense?
Yeah. I actually went between two defensive plays. I was going to go with the Malik Muhammad interception right before halftime against OU, but that was like whatever the coaching equivalent of a golden raspberry is, Brent Venables should get it for poor clock management because it didn't get much worse than that. That was awful. But no, I went. My favorite play of 25 is the Colin Simmons strip sack on Diego Pavia early in the Vanderbilt game. I think that was Vanderbilt's 4th play from scrimmage. So, by 5 plays into that game, you had the 75-yard Wingo touchdown. And you had a Colin Simmons strip sack, and I picked that one because I think it just shows Simmons' evolution as a player to read it, to make the play, to make the biggest impact on a play, and it just shows that, man, whenever that guy gets locked in, he has that unique ability we have seen very few guys in this program have, where they can, from a defensive line standpoint, they can go take over a football game, and he did.
Yeah,
definitely. If I will say this about that play, if the Ryan Wingo play didn't take the air out of or deflate Vanderbilt coming in trying to prove they're really a top 10 team, the Colin Simmons play did. Right?
Yeah.
That was a top 10 matchup. Vanderbilt ranked in the top 10 at the time.
Didn't feel like it. Hey, I'll give Jerry props because Jerry kept saying, they're going to out-athlete him. I'm not worried about this game. And to your point, that's exactly what happened early on. Ryan Wingo out-athlete him. Colin Simmons come in, wreck the game, out-athlete you. So I'll give Jerry props. Jerry was confident saying, nah, they're just going to out-athlete them. I mean, Vanderbilt's a good team. They got good schemes, good coaching, but they just don't have enough big-time athletes to stay with Texas. And Texas basically proved it pretty early on in that matchup.
Hey, Jeff, why those two plays were big and the Simmons one was huge, obviously, was a defensive play. The Texas fan base was teetering on the season and it had been on the road for a while. And there was much more doubt than belief in the season at that point. And to get out and get going against Diego Pavia and that Vanderbilt team at the time was just as big for the fan base as it was for the players.
First time home in a month.
Yeah.
42 days. Yep.
Yeah, don't forget about that. So good stuff. All right, my turn. Look, let's go back where we started. Let's go back to Ryan Nibblet. I think the first time all season I got up off my seat while I was watching a game was Nibblet's punt return against OU. So that was Texas up 13-6. OU was hanging around. Texas wasn't doing a ton on offense at the time, but they seemed to be moving in the right direction. And then Shazam. That was the first time Ryan Nibblet, you really said, ooh, he may be a real punt returner. Because up until then, we were still debating
if he was going to field the ball.
Is he even going to be the guy that comes up and fields the ball correctly?
Yeah.
Right? And all of a sudden, 75 yards later, Texas is up 2 scores against OU. And at that point, you knew that game was iced because John Mateer was no match. And the OU offense was no match for Texas that day. That was literally the first time in 2025 where I got up and said, maybe get up off my seat and go, ooh, here we go. CJ, I see you smiling right now.
No, I'm laughing because that comes 6 weeks into the season. That kind of just encapsulates how frustrating the first half of the year was.
That's fair.
Look, I know that's a hell of a play for Nibblet. I don't want to take it away because, that was my pick as well when it came to play of the year, favorite moment. But, when you start looking ahead, and I know that we're going to talk about 26 here in a minute later today, but my goodness, it just kind of puts into perception a little bit just how frustrating that start to the season was and how it lingered so quickly or so long into the season with Texas just kind of strutting along rather than, being the more physical dominant team like we expected.
I think as we move on from PK to Will Muschamp, I'm as excited about that move as anybody. But you talk about the OU game, and it's a PK appreciation time to be the defensive coordinator for Texas in 5 OU games, and in 3 of them, you completely keep them out of the end zone. It's a hell of an accomplishment.
Yeah. No, he did it with the rivals too. He did it against A&M too. I'll give him props about that. But no, when you make a big play like that against Oklahoma, you become a legend. And I'll say that about Ryan Nibblet. I never thought he'd kind of reach legendary status among Texas fans, but there is no doubt decades from now when we talk about this Texas team, Ryan Nibblet is going to be mentioned frequently, and he should be drinking for free for a long time.
Garage beer.
Yeah.
Garage beer for free.
Yeah, you're right.
I want to say this for him too. There was at one point in life another number 21 that returned a interception for a touchdown in that game, but his team didn't come out on top. Rod
Exactly. Cool. Come on.
This one did.
That's why I couldn't be a legend, Bobby. Couldn't be a legend. You got to win the game.
You're an OTF legend.
You're an OTF. Hey, in all seriousness, this is good memories. I want to say this was the turning point for Arch in that OU game as well. That 3rd and long that he completed to Parker Livingston along the sideline with the OU guy kind of draped on him at his thighs, essentially, and he still had the physical strength to nail. Is that when Arch Manning kind of said, he wasn't perfect from then on. Nobody's saying that. But is that the time when you said, ooh, okay, we may have somebody here a little bit? I go back to that play because I thought it was really, really a strong play.
What's up? It was funny. He said to Holly Rowe before the interview after the game, he was caught on camera saying, we needed that one. I think he was really saying, I needed that one. Because he was having to answer a lot of tough questions. the first half of the year. I think and he's always a team guy, but I think without saying it, he was saying I needed that one.
Yep. And we forget
back at the University of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And we forget, Joe, that's a top 10 defense at the time, too, man.
Yeah.
So that defense was loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah. OU was good.
It was best third down defense in the country. And Texas was amazing, magnificent on third down versus that defense. And it was because of Arch.
Yeah.
They were. And not only, I want to say this, OU just lost to Alabama. Alabama in that game on Friday night was still just 2 of 12 on third downs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even if they scored, they weren't successful on third downs. Arch and Sark kind of solved that together, I think, against OU. All right, we're going to be back in a minute talking about what we're most looking forward to on this Christmas Day to 2026. Before we get there, though, I want to say thank you to our sponsor. Our sponsor for this episode of On Texas Football Christmas Edition is our friends over at Vaughn Lane. As the holidays are here, travel season is officially here, but it doesn't have to be stressful for you and yours. If you're going anywhere in the state of Texas, Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, even Plano or the Woodlands, make sure you use Vaughn Lane. You'll board in minutes at a hotel terminal located just minutes from your destination and settle into one of just 22 oversized seats. More space, more comfort, no crowds. Enjoy free Wi-Fi, snacks, beverages, and hot towel service on every trip, and even on select routes. Savor complimentary meal service delivered right to your seat. Vaughn Lane takes the grind out of regional travel so you can focus on what really matters, the people and experiences waiting at the end of the ride. Book today, vaughnlane.com. Use code OTF25 for $20 off your first ride. Vaughn Lane, no stress travel, your private jet on wheels. Thanks, guys. We'll be back here in a little bit. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.